Late last night, the Toronto Raptors traded Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn, and OG Anunoby finally for RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and a second-round pick. Now, for some reason, you clicked on this video and really thought to yourself, man, I wonder what Sweatshop's take on this trade is. Who would they think is the winners and losers of this transaction? So, here's our take right here. Hello Sweatshop employees, before we start this video, I would be an absolute fool if I did not thank you guys for the love we got on that last video. Genuinely did not know how it was going to be received, and then I woke up 2 days later and our subscriber count had increased 9-fold, and we were just flooded, drowning in positive, funny, and suspect comments. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. If you are not subscribed and you like this content, what are you waiting for? That's it. Just what are you waiting for? Thank you again. Leave a comment down below and let's get into the video. So I think the way we're going to grade trades now and into the future is we're going to give 2 separate grades for each team. So 4 grades in total. The first grade for each team will be how this trade affects the on-court production of that team. How does the trade affect how good the team is in actual gameplay? The second grade we'll give each team is how the trade affects the team in sort of a bird's eye view sense. How this affects who they're able to go after in free agency, how this affects their trade assets, how this affects their overall salary cap, etc. And then we'll also be doing another grade, an overall grade for how we felt about the trade overall. So I guess 6 grades in total, not just 4. So let's start it off by first getting into the Toronto Raptors. When it comes to grading their on-court production, I think I'm gonna give them a B-. And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, that C is average. So I see this trade for their on-court production as slightly above average. And let me tell you why. OG Anunoby is the best player in this trade. There's no getting around that. But RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, I think they have higher ceilings than OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby to me is just a 3-and-D player. One of the best 3-and-D players in the league, but you're not getting any high-level shot creation out of him. You're just getting a good 3-and-D player, a good shooter, and a great defender. Now that's something that is very valuable on a team like the Bucks or a team like the Nuggets, teams that are true contenders and already have high-level shot creators. These teams really don't need anyone like Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. They just need connective tissue players on offense, players that can make that extra swing pass and shoot threes, and on top of that are very good defenders. And this is exactly what OG Anunoby is. For a team like the Raptors, though, that are devoid, that are absolutely begging for any form of shot creation, OG Anunoby just isn't that valuable. So trading him out for 2 players that are currently worse but have the potential to eventually become shot creators, it makes the trade a slight positive for me. They don't get the best player out of the trade, but they do get 2 very solid young players who are currently pretty decent starters and have the potential to grow into something even better. Right now, the Toronto Raptors have the potential to run a starting lineup of Emmanuel Quickley at the 1, very solid 3-and-D PG, Gary Trent Jr. at the 2, who's having a slump right now, but still he's usually a very solid 3-and-D shooting guard, RJ Barrett at the 3, decent defender and someone who I think has the potential to become a very good slasher in today's league, Scotty Barnes at the 4, someone who has shown again the potential of being a #1 option on a championship team, and Pascal Siakam at the 5, championship proven all-star level player that pretty much everyone loves. So yeah, when you look at it from this point of view, I think the trade is a B to B- when it just comes to the on-court production the Raptors now have. When we look from a bird's eye view at the assets they lost and what they got back, though, this trade is looking like a C-, okay? When just looking at this transaction from the viewpoint of who the Raptors gave up and who they got back, just looking at the assets part of this transaction, this is like a C, okay? It's average because this trade inherently hinges on how much Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett can improve. This trade is in and of itself a gamble. If RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, with the contracts that they either have currently, in the case of RJ Barrett, or the contracts that they will get in free agency, in the case of Emmanuel Quickley, because he will get a contract from the Raptors, there is no way they can let him go after this trade. But if either of them do not improve with the contracts they currently or will have, they will both be net negatives for the team, value-wise, in terms of the production they get for of the dollar amount they're getting paid. And if that is the case, then this trade is an overwhelming loss for the Raptors. As I said before though, both these guys have a higher ceiling than OG Anunoby and have a real chance to reach it on this team. That's why asset-wise, this trade is a C. They have an equal chance of losing it, and they also have an equal chance of winning it because we don't know how good RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley actually are. But looking at this from an even higher viewpoint though, viewing the past as well as the future, that's what drops this portion of the grade down a bit more. And let me tell you why. Over the past 4-5 years, there has been 3 constants in our universe: death, taxes, and OG Anunoby trade rumors. I feel like this man has been in trade talks since he was literally conceived. And I know for a fact that there was a report last year that the Toronto Raptors could have received 3 first-round draft picks for him from the Pacers or the Grizzlies. Instead, they got 2 solid young players and a second-round pick, and they had to give up more assets to get that. And that was just last year. I'm sure 2-3 years ago, they could have gotten even more. I just wish I could talk to some of these general managers and some of these front office executives on why they don't pull the trigger on some of these trades just to get fleeced in the future. Is there some pride component? Is it some ego component? Or maybe there is a strategic component where they don't want to get fleeced in the future, so they just don't take trades they deem as bad. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But with the knowledge I have currently, they could have gotten either more player assets or more picks. If they traded him a year ago, they would have been in a much better position. That's why the third eye view portion of this trade grade is a C-. And when you average that with the on-court production grade, which was a B to B-, this trade is looking like a C+ to a C for the Raptors. Better than average, but still, I think they could have done better. Now on to the Knicks. I'm very happy I took my time with this video and didn't just spew my thoughts immediately, because I was originally very negative on the Knicks side of this trade. Now I'm looking at it though, and I'm a little more positive. I think it was a net positive for the team. First, let's look at the on-court production grade. I give this part of the trade a B+, okay? Flatly, Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett are very solid young players, but they just don't fit what the Knicks are trying to do right now, okay? Immanuel Quickley is a good 3-and-D player, so you'd think he fit in essentially everywhere. But his biggest flaw is that he's just undersized. And when you already have an undersized guard in Jalen Brunson, it's hard to give Immanuel Quickley starter level minutes. It's just hard to play 2 undersized guards in today's league and not expect to be exploited in some way. RJ Barrett, I said originally, has the chance to be a very good high-level starter, but he just doesn't fit what the Knicks are trying to do here. Again, he's a 3rd option on the team at best. Sometimes he's a 4th option, and the 3rd and 4th option aren't getting the ball a lot. And to me, a player like RJ Barrett, he needs the ball in his hands to be able to be at his best. On top of that, the Knicks spacing just isn't that good, and RJ Barrett is a slasher, and he's not a high level slasher right now, so he can't overcome poor spacing. So you trade away Immanuel Quickley to a team that has tons of lengthy forwards, so they don't have to worry about being undersized there. You trade away RJ Barrett to a team that's rebuilding, so he'll be able to get more touches, a team that's his hometown team, so maybe he feels a little bit more comfortable there. You trade away a 2nd-round pick in addition to those 2, and in return, you get OG Anunoby, one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, who just fits any team really. And now when you look at your starting lineup, you have Jalen Brunson, one of the best 2nd options and maybe encroaching on 1st option territory in the league. You get Dante DiVincenzo or Josh Hart, both really solid 3-and-D players. OG Anunoby, one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, as I said previously. Julius Randle, someone who I've made my gripes about, but he's still a solid enough shot creator in today's league. And then Mitchell Robinson, a very solid defender and rebounder at the 5. That's a really solid starting 5. And to me, that team, along with some of the pieces they have on their bench, that team sounds like the only dark horse contender in the East. I'm sorry, the Miami Heat are true contenders. I don't care what anyone says, they are true contenders until they show us otherwise. The Philadelphia 76ers are kind of contenders. They have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, a really solid 1 and 2. I don't know, I just feel weird saying they don't at least have a chance to make the NBA Finals. The New York Knicks, though, are the only team in the East where I'd say I don't think they have a chance to make the finals, but if you put them in a series against any of the true contenders, it'd be pretty close. So yeah, just judging off of that, they gave away 2 solid players that didn't really fit, and then in return they got back one of the best 3-and-D players in the league. So that's like a B+ to me, at least when it comes to on-court production. When grading this trade from a bird's eye view standpoint though, I think I'm going to give it a B- to a C+ for similar reasons that I gave the Raptors a C-. This trade completely hinges on what the Knicks are able to do in free agency. The Knicks don't have to re-sign OG Anunoby, but if they don't, they have to get that #1 star player that they have been searching for I don't know how many years now. If they don't do that, or they sign OG Anunoby to a ridiculous contract, that man is asking for $40 million a year. If they sign him to that contract, or if he gets that contract somewhere else, then again, similar to the Raptors, this trade is an overwhelming loss for them. But depending on what they do with OG Anunoby, if they can sign him to a contract with very good value, or if they don't sign him and they're able to get a #1 star level player, or maybe just a solid #2, then yeah, this trade is an overwhelming plus for them. So yeah, if I'm just going to grade the bird's eye view portion of this trade for the New York Knicks, I'd give them a B- to a C+, and when averaging that out with the B+ I gave their on-court production grade, that averages out to about a B. So yeah, a B for the New York Knicks, a B- to a C+ for the Toronto Raptors. I guess that means that I think the New York Knicks won this trade, but as I said before, as I've said multiple times in this video, this trade is very dependent on the moves that the Raptors and the Knicks make in the future. Thank you for watching this video. The next 2 videos we have coming out will be a retrospective on the Los Angeles Clippers and a deep dive into if we think Luka Doncic will ever be able to win a championship using this style of play. If either of those interest you, like and subscribe. Comment down below if you agree with my takes in this video and who you believe won and lost the trade. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, stay sweaty.